Hello, I'm Nakia Basharudin and this is Nightline, news making the headlines. LTTE still on terror list. AG no power to interfere, says Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin. And EPF declares a dividend of 5.4% for 2019. We'll begin with our headlining story. The listing of the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam (LTTE) as a terrorist group is subject to the authority of the Home Minister. Therefore, Home Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin pointed out that the Attorney General does not have the power under the law to interfere in matters which are within the jurisdiction of the Home Minister. In a statement on Thursday, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said that the Malaysian government listed the LTTE as a terrorist group since November 12, 2014. He noted that based on the latest information from the authorities, he, as the Home Minister, feels there is a strong basis to retain the LTTE listing as a terrorist organization. According to him, the group is believed to still espouse an ideology that can threaten public order and national security. Tan Sri Muhyiddin said it is the authorities' responsibility to take measures to curb the group's activities and ideology. He said other countries, including China, Canada, US and UK, also list the LTTE as a terrorist group. The Home Minister's statement came a day after the AG, Tan Sri Tommy Thomas, said he was discontinuing prosecution proceedings against 12 suspects linked to the LTTE. The LTTE became defunct in 2009. The Employees Provident Fund, EPF, has declared a dividend of 5.45% for conventional savings in 2019 and 5% for Sharia savings 2019. The pension fund said that the payout amounted to 41.68 billion ringgit and 4.14 billion ringgit respectively for both the savings. In a statement, its chief EPF officer, Ali Zakri Alias, said that as anticipated, there was substantially more volatility in 2019 as compared to 2018. Last year, the EPF declared dividends of 6.15% for conventional savings 2018 and 5.9% for Sharia savings 2018. The EPF said that its overall investment assets grew to 924.75 billion ringgit as it experienced a 2.8% growth in membership to 14.6 million, while its registered employer base expanded by 3% to 522,300 employers. It said that there was also a 24.6% rise in I-account subscribers to 7.6 million. As for the Sharia savings, Ali Zakri said that its dividends differed from the conventional savings because the universe of assets they can invest in is not as wide as that available for the conventional option. Meanwhile, speaking to Nightline, Ali Zakri said the low returns are inevitable due to challenging external environments, including the COVID-19 outbreak.
You have to accept this is going to be the new norm. Don't think we are going to see the good old days, when things were very stable, things were very certain. So new things can come, it can come at any time, the impact can be very big and it can happen very, very quickly. So the way for any organization, especially for funds like us, is do we have the right structure in place to be able to handle that?
He explained what was more important was that the EPF fared relative to its peers which manage similar funds. To overcome uncertainties, he stressed that the EPF emphasizes on diversity in its strategic asset allocation in fixed income, equities and real estate, ensuring it is also in different geographical areas. Ali Zakri was met after a briefing for EPF staff in Bangi, Selangor.
Good for all organizations.
Right now, portfolio local and international.
So currently
The 22nd COVID-19 patient in Malaysia, an American lady from the Westerdam cruise ship, is recovering after 72 hours of treatment. In a statement, Health Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said the 83-year-old woman has shown positive development but is still under monitoring in Sungai Buloh Hospital as she is still exhibiting minor cough. After showing improvements following 72 hours of treatment, repeated COVID-19 tests were done, consisting of 2 tests done 24 hours apart. Both the repeated tests were found to be negative for COVID-19. This explanation came after the United States Center for Disease Control, CDC, was quoted on Friday, telling USA Today that it decided that all passengers aboard the cruise ship tested negative, including the 83-year-old woman currently quarantined in Malaysia. The CDC's claim came despite the woman previously testing positive for COVID-19 twice. The American woman was detected by a thermal scanner in the Kuala Lumpur International Airport on February 15th before an X-ray test showing her suffering from pneumonia. She was warded in an isolation ward in the Sungai Buloh Hospital and her clinical samples were tested by the Institute of Medical Research. Both samples had tested positive twice, following which she was given antiviral treatment together with oxygen aid for her symptoms. The government will focus on addressing problems and issues facing the country, especially the impact of the COVID-19 infection on the economy, rather than on the power transition. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail said the handing over of the Prime Minister's post by Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad to his successor has been agreed at the Pakatan Harapan PH Presidential Council meeting.
Kita govern the country as much as we can, and then untuk memperbaiki sebab kita ada banyak masalah juga kerana kita dihadapi dengan kluster coronavirus ni, COVID-19 ini, dan cara mana kita menanganinya sebab kita ada rentetan bahawa lepas itu bahawa ekonomi kita akan terkesan dengan negatif lah, ya. Dan itu yang akan membawa kita satu fokus yang kita semua akan fokus atas tu sebab kita ada perjanjian bahawa ada peralihan.
Tun Dr. Mahathir on Friday night announced that no date has been set for his handover to PKR President Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, only that it will be after the APEC meeting this year in November. Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah was speaking to the media after a fun ride event in Pandan Perdana attended by 500 participants earlier today. The Pakatan Harapan government must continue to govern and administer the country well in order to bring benefit to the people. Amanah Communications Director Khalid Abdul Samad, in saying this, stressed that for this reason, the coalition component parties unanimously agreed not to make any demands or put pressure on Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad over the power transition issue.
We are firm and united, and we will administer and run the government until the rakyat decides otherwise.
Khalid, who is also Federal Territories Minister, said claims of infighting for posts were made up by certain quarters to give the impression the Pakatan Harapan government was unstable. He spoke to the media after flagging off participants in the Larian Budi Wilayahku Half Marathon Putrajaya 2020 on Saturday. In the federal capital, some 200 supporters of non-governmental organisation NGO Gabungan Kuasa Rakyat gathered at Dataran Merdeka on Saturday, calling on the government to fulfill the group's 10 demands. A spokesperson, Nazrin Narani, said the gathering today is not held to serve the interests of any individual, but to voice the people's desires.
Kita kat sini hari ini sebagai NGO adalah kuasa rakyat. Kita bukan ahli politik. Benda-benda politik ni kita serah pada orang politik lah buat keputusan. Cuma sebelum buat keputusan, ambil kira suara akad umbi, suara ahli, suara rakyat. Ambil kira, dengar dulu. Okey tak okey, barulah buat tindakan. Jadi benda-benda pasal perkhidmatan kuasa benda kami, biarlah ahli politik punya kerja lah buat. Tak kisahlah daripada kem sini ke kem sana ke.
The group urged the government to fulfill their demands or dissolve parliament within the next 100 days. Among the demands is urging Putrajaya to work on the increasing cost of living, welfare of the people, as well as come up with a realistic action plan for youths. Former Prime Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak, his wife Datin Seri Rosmah Mansor and daughter Nuriana Najwa visited Bank Negara on Saturday to inspect items seized from them in 2018 as part of the One Development Malaysia Berhad 1MDB investigation. Some of the items are being stored at a vault in Bank Negara for safekeeping pending undergoing court cases. They arrived at 9:15 a.m. in separate vehicles. Police had in June 2018 seized 116.7 million ringgit in 26 currencies, 567 luxury handbags, 423 watches, 234 sunglasses, and 10,114 pieces of jewelry, following a raid on condominium units linked to the family at the Pavilion residences in Kuala Lumpur. Police had said the items were valued at least 686.37 million ringgit, with a retail value of close to 1 billion ringgit. Datuk Seri Najib is accused of misappropriating 2.28 billion ringgit in funds from 1MDB when he was the Prime Minister. The prosecution has set February 22nd, 23rd, 29th and March 1st for Datuk Seri Najib's family to inspect the items. In Kuala Lumpur, a man was remanded for 7 days beginning Saturday after he allegedly slashed his eldest sister to death over dispute about the family property. In the incident on Friday, the suspect is said to have become angry after being rebuffed by his sibling when he expressed his plan to sell the house they were living in. According to Sentul District Police Chief S. Shanmugamurthy Chinia, the 30-year-old victim had just returned home from work when the confrontation with her brother began. The suspect then went on a rampage and slashed the victim on the neck and body with a machete. Police also said the victim reportedly died at the scene, and the suspect later surrendered himself at the Jinjang police station after he was sent there by his nephew. It is understood that the divorcee victim was living in the house with her 3 sons, along with the suspect and his girlfriend. The body of the victim has been taken to the Kuala Lumpur hospital for post-mortem. The National Automotive Policy, NAP 2020, which was launched on Friday, would further strengthen the local automotive sector workforce, allowing it to remain competitive. Director of Automotive at Taj International College, who is also Nightline's auto segment instructor, Azad Jasmi, said the NAP 2020 will provide a clear direction for next-generation technology-driven vehicles.
I believe that the future of the automotive industry will be technology-driven, research-based, and it will have a tremendous and huge technology transformation from the conventional automotive industry to the highly technology-driven automotive industry.
Azad added the automotive sector was not limited to car manufacturing, as it also supports the development of new technologies and opened the door to boundless engineering possibilities that could complement other economic sectors.
It will embark on the new economic landscape, which the spillover effect of the automotive industry will help to spur the economy not only to the automotive industry per se, but also the electronic, the vendor system, the education, and also the manpower planning.
The NAP 2020, which was launched by Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, incorporates 3 new advanced technology elements, namely Next Generation Vehicle, Mobility as a Service, and Industrial Revolution 4.0. The 10-year policy marks Malaysia's move towards becoming a regional leader in the automotive sector, particularly in the areas of manufacturing, engineering, technology, and sustainable development. After this break, Nightline's esports segment. We'll be right back. We're now back for the esports segment with the latest gaming news. Malaysia has many skilled game developers creating an assortment of games, with one studio taking things to the next level. Ammobox Studios have created one of the best video games Malaysia has to offer, which could even rival some of the greatest AAA titles worldwide. Let's take a look at their original and locally developed game, Eximius Seize the Frontline.
With the support of Epic Games, Ammobox Studios went to create a unique and original first-person shooter FPS and real-time strategy RTS game titled Eximius Seize the Frontline. Gaming publishers Epic Games, most notably known for creating games like Fortnite, also developed a game engine called Unreal Engine 4. This engine is used worldwide by creative developers to develop games, movies, and now the Malaysian game Eximius. Ammobox Studios were the only Malaysian representative to receive a grant of over 100,000 ringgit for their hit title Eximius Seize the Frontline.
So there are not many hardcore games that are made in Malaysia. I would say hardcore games as in games that are very much skill focused, very kind of competitive games. And again, there's not many first-person shooters as well coming from Malaysia. So we've seen a lot of mobile games coming in Malaysia. PC games, a lot of new IPs are coming out. So we are one of the first few FPS games itself.
Eximius is also the first Malaysian game to be built using Unreal Engine 4, which gives the opportunity to accelerate development of the game. The game is a multiplayer game focused on FPS RTS hybrid that took 2 years to develop and is now downloadable on Steam. It combines tactical FPS gameplay with high-level strategic decision-making of an RTS game, while featuring a competitive 5v5 team battle.
Eximius is actually a 5 vs 5 team-based FPS game. So there's a lot of first-person shooter game outside there, but what makes it special is that it's one of a team-based FPS where one person actually plays as a real-time strategy. So you have one commander in a battle that's like building your bases, sending in support troops. So you will never find in FPS games where you have another player kind of as a commander watching over you, sending you reinforcements, sending you support.
Commanders square off in a post-apocalyptic urban environment where they build bases, train armies, and call down support abilities to help allies on the ground to gain territory. They can easily switch to FPS mode, where you can lead your infantry squad into combat and crush your enemies with your agile tactics or brute force.
Heavy tactics involved, there's strategies that's involved. You can play with different types of units, infantry, vehicles, air support, and it's also sort of like a hero shooter. So you're playing at FPS at one moment and then you can drop down a battle suit. Different type of battle suits give you different abilities.
Eximius provides a multi-role gameplay experience where each player could choose to play a diversely different role and fight not only with brains but also with their brains. An expert shooter could be outnumbered, ambushed and overwhelmed if caught in the wrong position, while a scheming officer could be assassinated in the right moment at the front line. Currently, the game is in early access on Steam with online multiplayer and a full release expected in November 2020.
Still to come on Nightline, at least 8 students killed in Indonesia flash flood. Do stay with us. Now on to the foreign front. Mainland China has reported 397 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 coronavirus infections. According to the country's National Health Commission, the figure is down from 889 cases a day earlier. That brings the total accumulated number of confirmed cases in mainland China so far to 76,288. The death toll from the outbreak in mainland China, meanwhile, has reached 2,345. Elsewhere, South Korea said on Saturday that the number of COVID-19 coronavirus cases in the country had doubled to 433. An official suggested that the tally could rise significantly as more than 1,000 people who attended a church at the center of the outbreak reported flu-like symptoms. Korea Center for Disease Control and Prevention reported 142 new cases at a morning briefing on Saturday and another 87 in the afternoon. Samsung Electronics on Saturday said that one COVID-19 coronavirus case has been confirmed at its mobile device factory complex in the southeastern city of Gumi, causing a shutdown of its entire facility there until Monday morning. Samsung Electronics, the floor where the infected employee worked, meanwhile will be shut down until the morning of February 25th. Over in Italy, a second patient infected with the COVID-19 coronavirus has died as an outbreak spreads in the north of the country, with 30 cases reported so far. The victim was a female resident in Milan's Lombardy region. Her reported death comes hours after a 77-year-old man died overnight near Padua in the nearby Veneto region. Iran on Saturday reported 10 new COVID-19 coronavirus cases and 1 new death, bringing the total number of deaths in the Islamic Republic to 5 and infections to 28. Officials said 8 of those infected have been hospitalized in Qom and 2 in Tehran, without specifying where the death occurred. The coronavirus outbreak first emerged in Iran on Wednesday, when officials said it killed 2 elderly people in Qom, a Shiite holy city south of the capital. In Japan, some 100 passengers who were in close contact with infected people on board began disembarking from the coronavirus-stricken Diamond Princess cruise ship. They included the last batch of Japanese passengers to leave the ship, while some foreign passengers were still waiting on board for chartered aircrafts to be sent by their governments. Around 970 passengers disembarked earlier this week. Lebanon also confirmed its first coronavirus case on Friday and said it was monitoring 2 other potential cases after a 45-year-old woman arriving from Iran on Thursday tested positive. Officials said the patient was taken directly to isolation from a plane arriving from the Iranian city of Qom on Thursday after exhibiting symptoms of the virus. At least 8 students in the Indonesian province of Yogyakarta were killed, while 2 others remain missing after a tidal surge swept them away during a school trip. According to officials, about 250 middle school students were trekking on the banks of Sembor River in Donokerto village in Sleman when high waters pulled some of the students in, drowning them. The group was not aware of the changing weather conditions upstream and developing thunderstorms. About 239 students were rescued, including 10 who were treated for injuries. Joint forces comprising the police, search and rescue agency and military has been dispatched to assist in search and rescue. Rains cause frequent landslides and flash floods in Indonesia, where millions of people live in mountainous areas or near floodplains. Before we wrap up tonight's Nightline, let's see what has been installed on the front pages of Malaysia's main newspapers on Sunday, February 23rd. The New Sunday Times details on how to cut food waste and save 4 billion ringgit. While the nation's best-selling Malay newspaper, Harian Metro, reports on hackers targeting on public Wi-Fi to steal personal data. And Berita Harian meanwhile touches on Datuk Sri Anwar's request to his supporters to respect consensus on power transition. Do get your copies today. And have you ever seen the moon close up? Visitors to Rochester Cathedral, southeast England now can, thanks to a giant art installation. Museum of the Moon by UK artist Luke Jerram is a 3-dimensional model of the real moon. It features detailed NASA imagery of the lunar surface. Let's take a look as we wrap up Nightline this time around. With that, I'm Nakia Bashiruddin. Thank you for watching and stay safe.